And we are live. How lucky am I? I'm a little late, y'all. I'm so sorry. If you came here from the scheduled post, I had a hard time with Streamlabs, so I had to pull a quick switch over to Restream, which saved my life. So shout out to Restream. I'm not an affiliate, although I should be. Appreciate everybody being here, everybody who is here. I'll be watching the chat to the best of my ability. So if you have questions, comments, concerns, or confessions, feel free to drop them into the chat, and then I'll do my best to attend to that. Oh, deep breath. I'm calling this the Daily Sigh, as in your daily sigh of relief. If you're an entrepreneur trying to keep up with what actually matters, this is for you. I go live every single business day at 6 p.m. Eastern. Today's the very first day, by the way. So when I say go live, I mean I plan on going live. Happy New Year. Happy January 1. I'm starting on the 1st just because I can't call this a resolution, but this has been my plan. My goal, my hope is to do to the best of my ability. I want to give you everything that matters in the entrepreneurial world. And that'll be across business, AI, markets, platforms, policies, new product releases, tools, technology, notable mentions, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm going to do it all in 15 minutes or less. That's the promise. That's the promise. So I started 5 minutes late today. So I'm going to be going to 6:20 Eastern every single day, 6 p.m. Eastern. Tune in, your social channel of choice. Follow me here. And I'm going to do my best to update you on what happened that day so you don't have to worry about it. If I miss anything, feel free to just tag me, message me, hit me up. I'll do my best to include that in the next run if I feel like it's relevant or pertinent. If we haven't met, my name is Kasim. I'm a welfare baby turned self-made decamillionaire. I help entrepreneurs who already have a real business but want clearer steps, better tools, and smarter ways to grow in a post-AI world. And all of my content is and always will be free. My goal in life is to help you achieve your definition of freedom. If you want, you can join my free forever community by going to kasim.me. Now let's just dive into it. So a couple of the big story, let's say, the big thing that I think everybody should pay attention to. And by the way, if you can't tell, I'm reading. I've got my notes. I just want you to know I'm doing my work. I came prepared for you. January 1, 2026 ended up being this really strange drop dead date from a legislative perspective. And I don't know if they always do this. Maybe, if there's an attorney watching, you can tell me. But effectively, there were all of these laws and bills passed relating to small businesses and specifically to AI usage rules, AI usage, data privacy. And it's not that they were passed today, but they all went live today. So if you haven't attended to this yet, it's really worth paying attention to. It's not just taxes, it's operational rules. And what's frustrating, and I think everybody in the business world has had some exposure to just how difficult these are starting to get to attend to. GDPR, if you're in Europe, California's CC, whatever that's called, ADA compliance, privacy rules and laws, like everybody either has or knows somebody who's been nailed to some degree. So pay attention. There's the 4 big buckets. AI usage rules, and these are things like disclosure requirements, the requirements that you have on your end to let people know that you're using AI are being legislated. Like the world is coming out, the government's coming out and saying, you have to do this. AI usage rules, data privacy, always been a problem. It's now, they're starting to add a lot of teeth to this legislation. So if you don't have a privacy policy in place, y'all, it's actually, they're relatively easy to come up with. And something that you've GPT'd is better than nothing. Another shift in the legislative world is employment classifications, contractor versus employee, which has always been a problem. But again, it's coming back around. This is especially relevant for remote teams. So if you have great big remote teams, pay attention to this. And then reporting and disclosures. Here's what you should do today. This is what I think is actionable for every entrepreneur and every business owner. Schedule an hour sometime this week or delegate it, which I, to be honest with you, think is preferable. Just do a search for your state, if you're in the US, or your country, or wherever it is that you happen to be in the world, but most of my audience is US based. So I'm in Arizona. So I would search for Arizona New Business Laws 2026. Talk to Gemini Deep Research, talk to ChatGPT, talk to the AI of your choice, and have it walk through what might be applicable to you. This is, and it's on multiple levels of analysis, right? This is operations, finance, and legal specifically. It's worth an hour. It's worth an hour of your time to just look at it and say, like, all right, how might this change how we function? If you have counsel on staff, go through counsel. Y'all, if you haven't been playing with Gemini Deep Research, by the way, the thing is a freaking miracle. Gemini came out horribly, and because of that, everybody dismissed it now as just absolute garbage. It's my favorite deep research product so far. And I know they keep going back and forth and the pendulum swings as to what's better, but if you haven't spent a little bit of time using Gemini, not Gemini standalone, it's not bad. It's good if you're in the Google ecosystem because it draws against all of your Google apps. But Gemini Deep Research specifically has been extraordinary. It's phenomenal. So big story, not fun, not sexy, but really, really important. Just go look at the new business laws in your state and how they might apply to you. The second big one is probably my favorite topic, which is the death of search, right? We, as marketers, like to kill everything. A tax relevant sum of traffic is now coming from AI tools, not from Google search. This is true for Google's own AI tools too. What you need to do as a business owner is make sure that you're in a position to be discovered by AI tools. Here's what's really interesting. And I have a dog in this fight, so I can't say that I'm impartial. What I will say is I'll give you everything that I have for free, including my book. I wrote the book on AEO, Answer Engine Optimization. It's called AEO Blueprint. You can get it from Amazon or you can have it for free. Just go to aeo.co. I have a free community. It's free forever. There's 1,500 people in this community that we teach AEO to. I wrote the book on AEO, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Here's the thing that's really interesting. If you are in business, you have to be discovered by these AI tools. What's interesting about the AI tools is they are compute starved. They are compute starved. It's the reason that the U.S. government is spending $4 trillion on data centers and looking to enhance our ability to provide power in this interesting AI space race. These AI tools are compute starved. Why is that relevant? Because unlike Google, which we're used to, Google caches, these tools fetch. So Google keeps information on hand. These tools go and get it every single time. So as you're having conversations with ChatGPT or Claude or whatever it is that you use, Perplexity, it's going and it's fetching this information, but fetching it is expensive. And so they basically are playing economy crawl, meaning they're spending the minimum amount of power that they possibly can in order to crawl websites and figure out what's what. Here's why this is relevant. I spent over a year. I have 5 full-time employees who've done nothing for the last 14 months but study how these AI tools source their citations. And all that really means is we tried to reverse engineer why certain websites are getting referenced and others are not. I have more data on this than any human alive. Somebody please feel free to challenge me on that, because if I'm wrong, I'd love to learn from that person. But I think that's not a bold statement. At an absolute minimum, I'm in the top 5, right? Here's what we discovered, and by we, I mean my data team. The single most important key performance indicator for being identified by LLMs is schema markup. That was an annoying gobbledygook sentence that didn't mean anything to anybody, right? Let me unpack that a little bit. And this is true across the board, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Grok, Gemini, etc. If your website has schema validated markup, and you can go to schema.org to see if your website has schema validated markup, you are far more likely to be visible to LLMs. How much more likely, Kasim? Glad you asked. I have data on that. In excess of 90% of all LLM source citations, 90% of all LLM citations had schema validated schema. Y'all, when I learned this, I didn't know what the hell schema was. It's kind of like labels for your content, to be honest with you. Go to schema.org. It's not hard. You can ask ChatGPT to give you quality schema, and that's better than nothing. When you add schema to your website, you put yourself in a position of being visible to these answer engines. The reason this is relevant is currently, as of today, or the last time I checked, only 12.4% of all websites have schema validated schema. So if you add schema markup to your website, you're putting yourself in the very small repository that of sites that these AI tools are willing to crawl. Now, it's not that they won't crawl you if you don't have schema validation. That's the 10%. 90% of all citations have schema validated schema. The 10% that don't are the ones that host information that's so critical that the LLM decides, you know what, I'm going to spend the extra time, effort, energy, compute power in order to figure out what the hell's on this website. So like the day Charlie Kirk got killed, let's say, if somebody had information on their website that was ultra relevant to that topic, but hadn't necessarily done all of the optimization, the LLMs would say, no problem, I'm going to spend the compute power it takes for me to capture this information, regardless of your schema markup. So if your content is so important that they're willing to bypass it, you'll land in the 10%. Chances are it's not. Chances are it's not. So if you're not paying attention to, and people are calling it different things. They're calling it GEO. Neil Patel is calling it SEO, search everywhere optimization. I call it AEO. The notes I have here, somebody just now, they're calling it LMO, language model optimization. I like AEO because I own the domain name. Again, I have a free community and a free book. You can go to AEO.co if you want to learn more about that. A little bit of rapid fire. Some of these things are really interesting. This one has nothing to do with small businesses per se, but I do want to point it out because if you were on Perry Belcher's predictions call, Perry talked about the impact Ozempic is going to have on the global economy. And when I heard that, I was like, dude, what a weird, obscure thing to focus on. And then as I'm doing my research, interestingly, Chipotle outlined or just rolled out an entirely new menu specifically for the Ozempic economy, which is smaller portions and protein first. This is why this is relevant. Things that you don't realize will impact your business are going to impact your business. You know, I mean, some unbelievable percentage of the US consumer base is on Ozempic, which means that they're going to be nutrient deficient and not eating as much. So ask yourself, regardless of the business you're in, how does something like that impact you? And if it's not Ozempic, then it's, you know, this other new shift. Like I read recently that the number of qualified drivers coming of age but choosing not to get a driver's license is the highest that it's ever been since we've started, you know, ubiquitously driving. Things like that. How does that impact your business? Another really important rapid fire one is Gen Z is leaving performative social platforms. Anonymous social apps are growing faster than ever. And what's really interesting about that is they're niche specific. These niche specific social apps, if you're on these apps, I'd be really interested because I've not seen them or been exposed to them. But the Gen Z has decided that authenticity beats production value, which makes a lot of sense. It actually lends itself to the way that I see the barometer tipping at the moment is exactly that. YouTube recently downregulated AI-driven content. They demonetized it. And the reason I'm going live, by the way, is because all the social platforms are prioritizing live content. Why? Because this is the hardest thing for AI to spoof so far. And so AI adoption, don't fight AI adoption, lean into it, obviously. And put yourself in a position of benefiting from it when it's of benefit and protecting yourself from it when it's not. Another thing to be really cognizant of is the fact that AI adoption is creating security risks. So as you begin using these AI tools, you're also opening up ports where, you know, bad actors can take advantage of what's going on. Here's what I'd actually do. 1 to 2 minutes. My audience, by the way, is roughly speaking entrepreneurs with businesses that have $500,000 to $10 million in gross revenue, which is kind of a small window. That's technically small business, right? If you're not making 500K, a lot of what I say is not applicable. If you're making more than 10 million, don't listen to me because you've made more than I've ever made in my life. This is what I think you should do. One, I think you should take a look at the plan of action you have for deploying AI. It needs to be bottom up, not top down. Here's what I mean by that. You can't be a fat cat on a mezzanine looking down at an assembly line deciding where AI is going to be deployed. You'll get it wrong. What you need is everybody on the assembly line incentivized to utilize AI in very specific small instances, and then allow that to grow and expand and permeate and penetrate. And if you don't have that, it's time to talk to your people, your staff, or hire AI-enabled employees is what we call them. This is, I think, maybe the most important thing that you can possibly do. Closing thoughts. Make sure that legislation isn't going to bite you in the ass. I think that's extraordinarily important. Pay attention to what's happening with some of the pendulum swings in AI. If you wrote off Gemini in the beginning, I think you're missing out. And tune in every single day, 6 p.m. Eastern. I realize that I'm trying to be as comprehensive as I possibly can. If I missed anything, tag me on your social channel of choice. I promise I'm going to do my best to read through all of them personally. I'll add back or add in things that you think are critically important. But my hope is that I get to bring you a daily sigh of relief by just giving you all the updates that you need in one quick, easy to package section in 15 minutes or less. This has been your Daily Sigh. Kasim signing off. I'll see you tomorrow.